Okay, so next pillar. Do you know the 5 pillars of Islam?
Yeah, what are we up to?
You don't know the 5
No,
pillars of
I
Islam?
do, excuse me, don't try and twist words. I do know the 5 pillars.
What are the 5 pillars of Islam?
What I'm trying, listen.
I know them, do you know them?
Yeah, I do. You can tell me all you like.
I'm asking if you know the central 5 tenets of your own religion.
What you are about to see is a video that will make you laugh and cringe. That is the worst demolition of an individual in a debate that I have ever seen. We are going to watch the time when Milo Yiannopoulos was confronted by a Muslim woman who took issue with his stance on Islam. So I don't really know anything about Islam, if I'm honest, so I'm not going to comment on the veracity or lack thereof regarding what Milo's talking about, but I'm kind of interested in it. But what I will focus on is the debate itself, and there's a lot to get through here, guys. So with that, let's get into the clip.
This is Emma. Emma is an Australian Muslim conservative. I know that's going to blow people up.
Yep, no, it's good. I mean, look, we have fellow confusing identities. So good. Well, we're kindred spirits. Mind-blowing identities. Perfect.
It's mind-blowing. So
actually, I don't know if it is that mind-blowing.
What, that people have opinions?
It depends what kind of conservative you are. If you're a socially conservative, it makes complete sense that you'll be Muslim.
Well, we can agree to disagree. I mean, I will agree with you that we need to eradicate extremism, terrorism, and whatnot. Our democracy in this country is a certain way. We are not living in the Middle East, so therefore anyone that comes here, of course.
Would you rather live in the Middle East? Would you prefer that version?
I was born here. I don't know the Middle East.
Okay.
So this is my country as far as I'm concerned.
But Sharia law is not compatible with the laws here, right? So would you prefer
to
live under Sharia here? Well, women's testimony being worth half of that of a man's under certain circumstances.
That's right, and then you would find that Sharia law in many different parts of the Middle Eastern countries are very different. You have honor killing, you have...
Okay, well I gave a specific example. Yeah. Do you believe in that?
No, I believe in the Sharia.
Do you think women should be able to drive?
No, of course they should drive. A woman is equal to a man. I believe in the 5 pillars.
Well, not in most Muslim countries.
Well,
I mean, anywhere Islam obtains, you find the routine persecution of homosexuals and oppression of women. I mean, you're lucky to live here, right?
Absolutely, but that's not normal.
You wouldn't want to move any of those countries.
The behaviour of the Sharia law that
can you name a majority Muslim country you'd rather live in than here?
Name a what, sorry?
A majority Muslim. Is there any country, forget that for a second, is there any country
majority Muslim country you would rather live in than here?
No.
Okay, then I think we're good.
Good.
No, but hang on a second. Each country has a certain way of their own law. You have countries like the Middle East that take away the women's rights, but that has nothing to do with Islam. So
why does it occur so often in Islamic countries?
You know why? Because it's been hijacked. You've got people that have hijacked it with extremism. You have some that hijacked it because they just want to be lazy, and you have typical men who want to take over the nation.
I could be murdered in 11 Muslim countries, which together comprise about 300 million people.
And you'll find that's not Islam.
For my sexuality.
And that's not Islam.
But that's, okay, well, it's fine for you to say that's not Islam, but you're discounting half your own faith.
No, there's a difference between Islam and Muslims. You have to understand that. It's a behaviour of Muslims that can actually make Islam look bad, right? It's how you want to interpret.
Is there anywhere in the world, in your view, that practices Islam correctly?
You know, nobody is perfect. No, I don't reckon anybody practices any religion perfectly.
Okay, so everywhere in the world there is Islam. They practice it badly, with the result that they oppress women and murder homosexuals.
Shakespeare still tried to be translated to this date, and that's Shakespeare. There is nobody that can translate anything to the point where they have it.
Translating Shakespeare? It's in English.
It's an example.
So that was not a good start, but if you guys think that was bad, you need to stick around, because this gets progressively worse until it gets to the point where it's actually hard to watch because she's getting destroyed that badly. So Milo offered her a way out there, which she should have taken. But unfortunately, what I think we're seeing here is a good example of the sunk cost fallacy. This is when somebody doesn't want to abandon their course of action because they've already invested too much into it. And she really is not a good debater whatsoever. She's incredibly reactive to everything he says, and she really lacks poise. Every time Milo says something, she has to jump in and try and say that he's wrong, and then use extremely flawed logic and weird examples, such as that Shakespeare is still being translated today. She's not listening, but rather just waiting to talk, and this level of overzealousness allows Milo to literally tie her in knots. She would have been so much better off just taking the time to listen to what Milo's saying, absorb what he's saying, and then give a thoughtful and measured response. And now on to the next section where Milo completely steamrolls her. And this bit's a great example of how Milo is a conversational bully and how she has absolutely no idea how to deal with it. So see what you guys pick up here, and then I'll give my thoughts after. But before we get to the next one, guys, I do hope you take a second to like the video. It only takes you a second out of your time and it helps me enormously. And also subscribe to the channel if I've earned that subscription. Back to the clips.
It's an example.
Example
People are
of
still
what? He
trying
wrote
to...
in English.
No,
We don't translate Shakespeare.
No, but when they do their plays and whatnot, they are still trying to
But what are you
understand the
what
meaning
is-
behind Shakespeare.
Are you
This is
talking
just an
about
example.
translation or interpretation?
This is just an example.
Because the Quran is supposed to be the final, unalterable,
That's
and
correct.
perfect word
That's
of God.
correct. But if
So you're not
someone
supposed to
doesn't-
translate
No,
it.
but if
You're
somebody
supposed to
doesn't-
interpret it with the help of the hadiths and the sunnah and all the rest of it.
But
You're not-
it depends on who is teaching. It depends on who is teaching.
So there isn't a single Islamic country or Islamic leader that gets it right. You, on the other hand, have it right.
No, I'm not saying that at all. No, I'm
hold
not
the
saying
key
that at all.
to a virtuous version of Islam that none of us have ever heard
No,
of.
I'm not
that
saying
no
that at all.
Muslim
What I'm
country
trying to say
operates
to you-
according to. But so if we were to give you like the keys to an empty country, you would be able to create a version of Islam that doesn't oppress women and murder homosexuals.
Well, I would create it to the way that God wanted peace and love, and He is just. He is not unjust, as
Right,
some will.
the principle of Quranic abrogation, right?
Look, I'm not a scholar. I'm not
Right.
a
So
scholar.
what Quranic abrogation means, what it means is that because the Quran is inherently internally inconsistent, like a lot of big, long, complicated books, right? Quranic abrogation is not a Western principle. It is an Islamic, an accepted Islamic principle of scholarship, which says that out of the verses that contradict one another, the verses that were revealed to Muhammad later supersede the ones that were revealed earlier. So if if you reorder the Quran chronologically, the stuff that came later that was revealed to Muhammad by Allah later supersedes anything that might be contradictory in the earlier verses.
And who told
Now,
you this information?
well, this is very
Which
well
scholar gave you this information? Did you read it out of the book yourself? and
very
interpret
well
it that way?
established Islamic scholarship. So the problem that you have, right, is that the later verses, when Muhammad was a warlord, right, supersede the earlier ones, which are all the peace, love, and understanding.
No,
so the
we
jihad,
still-
verses
true.
that are about killing the unbeliever are the
That's
ones
not
that,
true.
according to Quranic,
That is not
according
true.
to Islamic
That is
scholars,
not true. And if
are the
thing
ones
is-
that supersede the
thing is,
peace, love,
Milo,
and understanding
if we
ones.
keep saying that, oh, Islam teaches you this, Islam, we can slap each other
you're
back and forth.
you're
We can
challenging
slap
me on
each
the
other
name of
back and
specific
forth.
scholars, and
Hang
you
on,
didn't
let
even
me
know what
speak,
abrogation meant.
Let me speak. We can slap each other back and forth, but if we're going to keep addressing the negative of what
I'm not gonna slap you,
Muslims,
that's a left thing.
Muslims like me that keep saying that's wrong.
I don't use violence.
Muslims
That's
like
your
me
people.
Muslims like me that keep saying this is wrong, and then you keep hearing someone say, oh well, no, it's bad, and you're all murderers, and you're whatnot, and this is what your Quran says.
How many times a day do you pray?
Hang on a second.
you
How
pray
many
5 times a day?
1 second, please.
Do you pray 5 times a day?
Yes, well, I try and do my best. I'm not the best.
How many times a day do you
Yes,
pray?
5 times a day, but I'm not
You
the
pray
best.
5 times a day.
I am not the best. I miss a bit. I've made that
When's your
clear.
next prayer today?
Listen,
What time?
I won't have time until I get home.
So you're not
right?
praying 5 times
I'm not
today.
gonna,
Will you pray 5 times tomorrow?
I do my best.
Do you do namaz on
I
Fridays?
do my best. Let me finish
Do you go
my
to namaz
question.
on Fridays?
Let me finish my question.
Do you go to namaz on Fridays?
No, I
Once
do
a
not.
week?
I don't follow a preacher.
So-
I don't follow an imam. Okay? I don't want, because I don't want to get confused in certain ways. Regardless, what
I
I'm
just
trying
don't
to
understanding what
Milo,
respect you
what
call
I'm
yourself
trying
a
to
Muslim.
So Milo is a lion playing with his food at this point and having a good time of it. So similarly to myself, this lady has absolutely no idea what the term Quranic abrogation means. And upon a quick YouTube search, I found that it's a term pretty widely discussed by Muslim scholars. Perhaps not in the way that Milo says it, but if she's going to discuss this topic, then she should at least know what it means. And when he brings it up, she goes, look, I'm not a scholar.
Look, I'm not a scholar.
And then when he explains it, she says, no, you're wrong, without any counter thoughts herself, and then proceeds to try and discredit his sources without actually knowing what he's talking about. Furthermore, Milo absolutely dominates her in this conversation by asking short, sharp questions over and over and over again. And it's a simple format that he does throughout this debate. He asks the same question 2 or 3 times in a row because he knows that she will just fold and allow him to just derail whatever it is that she was trying to say. Typical of a conversational bully, but she was not hip to this at all. In this situation, it was absolutely crucial that she stood her ground and didn't acquiesce to his questions because he knows, and you'll see this throughout the rest of the debate, that after he got her once with this, he could get her every single time. and direct the conversation anywhere he wants to take it. And what she should have done is just kept on repeating the start of her answer until he was quiet. Here's a really good example of Larry Elder doing that.
We're not drawing back to the...
It's not okay. Two wrongs don't make a right, right?
We're not drawing back to the 17th century. We're drawing back to just a few years ago.
Okay.
And I'll just give you one example. Fast and Furious.
But to his... Let
me just finish.
Trump is not morally reprehensible?
Fast and Furious. Congress wanted Eric Holder to testify.
But even worse than this, she then lies and then gives away her own lie. She says, I pray 5 times a day, but I'm not the best, which means like I don't actually pray.
I do my best.
Do you do in the Mass on Fridays?
I do my best.
And the absolute worst thing you can do in a debate is lie about the extent of your knowledge, because if you're pushed on that and you come undone, you will look so much worse than if you had have just been honest. The best thing that she could have done there would be to just be humble, say, hey, I don't know about that. Tell me a little bit about it, and then listen carefully to his answer, and then try and formulate a clever question about it, and potentially try and divert from that topic that you don't know what you're talking about. But unfortunately for her, the lying is not done yet, and she's about to dig herself into a deeper and deeper hole. Get ready to cringe.
Maybe you need to then understand what actually Islam means. And
I understand what abrogation is.
Right?
I seem to understand more about the Quran than you do.
I'm not a scholar, honey. You've only you just you.
I mean, you can ask me questions about the Bible. I'll know those too.
And you can. But that's easy to cherry pick. We can
I'm
cherry.
not cherry picking. It's
Well,
like
you
it's
have.
I mean, it's
you
like
have. You've cherry picked your little bits and pieces, and you just think, okay, well, that's what I'll just address.
This isn't going very well for you, is it?
No, it doesn't really matter. It's not going very well for you because I'm trying to let you know that there's other Muslims than what you think and you perceive just because you see on media. You said yourself, everything's
so
fake news.
Just describe to somebody. I think that was somebody else with much less nice hair. Is there anybody in public life you consider to be a good Muslim?
My family.
No, in public life. Any famous people you think are good Muslims? You know, like
Muhammad Ali. Thank you very much.
DJ Khaled, perhaps. Any rappers? Like, give me an idea of something.
But you know, you'd find that a lot of the Muslims that don't put themselves out there, you wouldn't even know that they're Muslims.
I think I know
There's a lot. There's a lot of American Muslims out there who are fabulous. But again, not everything is what you
like,
see in
you
media.
like Linda Sarsour? You think she's cool?
No, I don't think she's cool. Actually,
Cool. What don't you like about Linda Sarsour?
Well, because I think having somebody with that platform who's spreading. Correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I can see in media, who's spreading hate and jihad and Sharia, well, that's not what we want.
Because she's considered an enlightened, modern, progressive Muslim in America, so you don't think she is?
No, I don't. Anybody that wants to try and change the law in the country that they reside in, that's a very different story.
I don't mean to offend you, but if you don't pray...
Don't lie, you do.
Well, I don't care if I do, but I'm trying to get to the truth. If you don't pray, you don't seem to agree with any... Muslim countries or leaders, you don't follow an imam, you don't go to Namaz on Fridays. How are you Muslim?
Because Islam is a submission to God. Islam, you can read the book.
You seem to be submitting to stupidity. I don't know if you're submitting to God.
No, honey, you do your 5 pillars. You pay your charity. You pay.
Do you pay your zakat? You pay your zakat.
I pay
every year.
I pay your
mandated zakat every year. Do you?
I will
horse shit.
No, I
horse
do.
Shit.
I do.
You pay your zakat on top of your taxes. You pay your zakat.
I do.
And you'd be prepared to publish that, would you?
Absolutely. I pay, and I can prove it. I've got recording. I can show you children, orphans that I've given my money to who have thanked me.
Who do you give your zakat to?
I give it to my mother. She goes and gives it to the people that are in need. Thank you very much.
Where does she live in the Middle East or something?
No,
she out in Syria building camps?
No, darling. When she travels, she'll go to orphans. She'll give it to children. She'll give it to because there is no welfare in other countries.
Your mother's on holiday in Morocco and gives a few dollars to a beggar, and that's your zakat.
It's not a beggar.
How much
They're not beggars.
zakat do you pay?
People there
How much
in need.
zakat do you pay?
Depends. That's personal.
It doesn't depend. Zakat's a very specific figure. Do you know what it is?
Well, it depends on. I pay for my children as well.
No, it doesn't depend.
It does. It does depend.
So you're taking on zakat for you and your children. I mean, with taxes, you must be left with what, 10% of your salary left?
It's my business.
So cringe. So cringe. Notice here, all he had to do was ask a few probing questions and her whole entire worldview falls apart. And what you don't want to do is be on the back foot answering questions the whole time, because that means that the other person is in full control of the conversation. And this is not ideal, demonstrated by the fact that she just yields every single time he asks these questions.
I pay to homeless, to
you
orphans,
pay your
to
mandated
people that
zakat
need it.
every year, do you?
I will send.
And he's able to walk her around like a puppy on a lead. But what she should actually have done here was just say, hey, listen, Milo, I know you're a smart guy, you're a great debater, you really know what you're talking about, but we're not here to talk about my personal life. What I wanted to ask you was about your views on X, Y, and Z. But unfortunately for her, she does the opposite. Now let's round out this video with the knockout blows that cap off the worst debate destruction I've ever seen.
Okay, so that was one pillar. What are the other 4?
You got to go to the pilgrimage.
Have you done the Hajj?
No, I haven't.
Have we done the short one?
One day I'd
Have we
like
done the
to.
short Hajj, the mini one that they do? That's not the full Hajj.
No,
Have you done
I
that?
haven't. I haven't
Okay,
done
so
it.
next pillar.
What
Do you
are
know
we
the
up
5
to?
pillars of Islam?
Yeah, what are we up to?
You don't know the 5
No,
pillars of
I
Islam?
do. Excuse me. Don't try and twist words. I do know the 5 pillars.
So what are the
But
5 pillars of Islam?
What I'm trying. Listen.
I know them. Do you know them?
Yeah, I do. You can tell me all you like. What I'm trying to say to you is let's not just try and bring it back on me. What I'm trying to say
I'm
is
just
you're
asking
very-
you if you
No,
know the central
because
tenets of your own faith, the one that you
hang
are
on.
defending so vigorously and enthusiastically with me.
I-
I'm asking if you know the
what I'm
central
trying
5
to say,
tenets of your
listen to
own
you,
religion.
listen
The
to
one
me.
that you're saying
what
is so wonderful.
What I'm trying to say to you is, let's not get it about me. All
No
I'm trying
wonder
to say,
you don't
I'm
like
a
Muslims. You don't know what they believe.
No.
No wonder you don't like
I'm
going to the
trying
Middle
to
East. You have no
explain-
idea about
I'm
it.
trying to explain to you that there are other different types of Muslims. You put everybody in the same category. Forget about me. Let's just take the focus away from
I'm
me.
quite interested in
right?
you.
No,
I think you're
let's
fascinating.
get the focus away from me, right? What I'm trying to get out of you is, what would you say to people who are like me that you're putting everybody in the same category? You know, I mean, I'm not the best Muslim. Who
I think we've
cares? But
established
that's
that.
between me and God. It's because only God can judge, darling.
Well, I'm judging too. So, I mean, to your credit, I think I'd let you stay because I don't think you qualify as Muslim.
Just wow. And so we know, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but the 5 pillars of Islam are professing the faith or bearing witness, praying facing Mecca 5 times a day, giving zakat or donations, fasting during the daylight hours of Ramadan, and making one visit or pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. Maybe she does the fasting, but the rest she clearly doesn't do. But guys, there we have it. An example of why you should A, never go into a debate that you can't handle with anything but humility. B, never lie in a debate about your knowledge, because if you get caught out, it is such a bad look. And C, understand when you're dealing with a conversational bully and understand the basic principles of how to deal with these sorts of people. So guys, with that, make sure you subscribe to my other channels. Got my podcast on YouTube now, Instagram, Twitter, all of those wonderful magical places. And if you guys want to watch another video, click right here. Until next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.